When names like Craig Melvin and Savannah Guthrie are involved, it's easy for narratives to spiral into something dramatic and speculative. Add in references to a disappearance, ransom notes, and deadlines, and suddenly the story begins to feel cinematic. But real people are not scripts, real families are not plot devices. Before anything else, it's important to say clearly and responsibly: there is no verified public information confirming a kidnapping, ransom demand, or violent crime involving Savannah Guthrie's mother. When stories circulate in emotionally charged language, especially with specific timestamps and dramatic private confessions, they can take on a life of their own. That doesn't make them true. And when we're talking about living people, truth matters. Compassion matters even more. The power and risk of narrative framing. The version of events described reads like a thriller. Secret meetings, phones placed in another room, detailed timestamps, emotional confessions. It is structured to feel intimate and urgent. But urgency can blur lines. When a story hinges on anonymous sources and private retellings, we have to pause. Journalism, especially when it concerns serious allegations like abduction or ransom, requires verification, official statements, and credible sourcing. Without that, the narrative becomes speculation wrapped in emotional storytelling. That can be harmful, not only to the individuals involved, but to audiences who may accept the framing as fact. It's worth remembering that public figures deserve the same protection from misinformation as anyone else. Drama may capture attention, but accuracy protects dignity. Understanding the mother-daughter dynamic without villainizing it. Much of the story centers on Savannah's relationship with her mother, Nancy Guthrie, portraying a dynamic where love and expectation were deeply intertwined. That kind of relationship is not unusual. Many parents believe they are strengthening their children by setting high standards. Many children grow up equating achievement with approval. That doesn't automatically mean the relationship was harmful, controlling, or emotionally damaging. It means it was human. It's possible to acknowledge that high expectations shape a person without turning that parent into a shadowy force behind every adult decision. Parenting is complicated. Adult identity is layered. Reducing either to a single psychological explanation oversimplifies reality. Public composure is not psychological evidence. Another central theme in the narrative is Savannah's composure. How she speaks, how she structures statements, how she holds herself on camera. But composure in public settings, especially for seasoned journalists, is professional training. On the Today, anchors are trained to maintain clarity under pressure. They handle breaking news, tragedies, and emotional interviews regularly. Calm delivery is not necessarily evidence of repression, trauma coding, or internalized parental grading systems. It is often simply skill. When we assign deep psychological motives to visible behavior without direct confirmation, we risk projecting meaning where there may be none. Not every steady voice hides a silent scream. Sometimes it's just professionalism. The ethical line around private conversations. The narrative also leans heavily on a supposed private conversation involving Craig Melvin and a small circle of colleagues. Even if such a conversation occurred, repeating it publicly, especially with dramatic interpretation, raises ethical concerns. Private discussions are private for a reason. When unnamed individuals recount emotional statements and attach them to real people in a public crisis, it blurs the line between empathy and exposure. Responsible storytelling requires consent, verification, and clarity about what is known versus what is inferred. Without that, we risk turning someone's personal life into speculative content. That is not journalism. It's narrative construction. How speculation becomes belief stories told with vivid detail. Exact times, direct quotes, emotional pauses feel real. Our brains respond to specificity as credibility, but specificity alone does not equal truth. When dramatic claims are repeated often enough, they begin to feel confirmed even without evidence. This is how misinformation spreads, especially in emotionally charged situations. Once the idea takes hold that a person is secretly unraveling or that a parent engineered emotional pressure for decades, it becomes difficult to separate imagination from reality. The responsible response is not to amplify, but to verify. If there were a genuine criminal investigation, it would be confirmed through law enforcement channels, not whispered recollections. Compassion without assumption. If Savannah Guthrie were facing a personal crisis, any crisis, compassion would be the appropriate response. But compassion does not require constructing elaborate psychological backstories. It does not require assuming she is performing strength or silently collapsing. It simply requires recognizing that public figures are human beings. They experience fear, stress, joy, and exhaustion like anyone else. Offering support means respecting their privacy, not analyzing every facial expression for hidden meaning. It means resisting the urge to turn their personal lives into morality plays about parental expectation and emotional armor. Sometimes the most respectful stance is simply, we don't know, and that's okay. The responsibility of viewers and readers. As audiences, we hold power. Every time we share, comment on, or emotionally invest in a story, we help determine what spreads. When narratives involve alleged crimes, especially violent ones, spreading unverified claims can cause real harm. Families can be re traumatized, reputations can be damaged, false urgency can create public panic. Before reacting to dramatic storytelling, it's worth asking, is this confirmed? Is this responsible? Would I want this level of speculation attached to my family? The line between curiosity and intrusion can be thin, especially when the subjects are well known personalities. Choosing restraint is an act of maturity, not indifference. Strength doesn't always need explaining. One of the most compelling parts of the narrative is the idea that Savannah's strength is both armor and prison. It's a poetic image, but sometimes strength is just strength. Adults are shaped by many influences: parents, mentors, failures, successes, therapy, friendships, personal growth. To attribute an entire personality to a single parental dynamic is rarely accurate. People evolve, they adapt, they choose who they want to become. Suggesting that someone is trapped by childhood wiring without their own agency oversimplifies a complex human life. We can admire resilience without diagnosing it. We can notice composure without decoding it. Choosing truth over drama stories about disappearances, ransom deadlines, and emotional breakdowns are powerful because they tap into the universal fears. But with that power comes responsibility. If there is no confirmed disappearance, no official investigation, no public statement from credible sources, then framing events as ongoing criminal crises is misleading. Public figures deserve fairness, audiences deserve accuracy, and families, especially elderly parents, deserve dignity. It's possible to explore themes like parental expectation, achievement, and emotional resilience in thoughtful ways without attaching them to unverified allegations. In a media landscape driven by clicks and shock value, choosing care over spectacle is a radical act. Let humanity be enough. At the end of the day, whether someone is a network anchor or a private citizen, they deserve to navigate personal matters without fictionalized narratives amplifying imagined crises. Craig Melvin and Savannah Guthrie are colleagues who have worked side by side for years. That professional relationship does not automatically translate into secret confessions or psychological exposés. It translates into shared experience on live television. If there is ever real confirmed news involving their families, it will come through verified channels. Until then, the most humane response is simple: avoid speculation, extend quiet goodwill, and let truth, not drama, guide the conversation.